a major problem
I was just wondering where it was.
after the resurrection. As powerful and as miraculous as his being raised from the dead was, his disciples, his followers, his friends had just a few days earlier been seriously demoralized and defeated, hopeless and confused. He needed to have the full assurance and certainty, they needed to have the full assurance and certainty that he was alive. So he gave them many convincing proofs that he was alive over a 40-day period. So he walked and he talked and he ate with them just as he had before the crucifixion. He convinced them he was alive, he was the same person as he was before, only carrying scars as reminders of his crucifixion. But he also had to answer a question that may not have been verbalized by them in a sideways way. It was, there was a question asked of him, Lord, are you now going to, what are you going to do now? Are you now going to restore Israel to its previous greatness? But their question for themselves that they may not have even asked was, what now, Lord? What do you want us to do? What do you expect of us? We walked with you for 3 years. What now? He had to prepare them to carry on the ministry he had begun in the flesh, which would continue with them in the spirit. He was preparing and commissioning his apprentice rabbis, by the way, some of whom were female, to do the things, the very things, the same things that he had done in the ministry. John recorded Jesus' very simple and succinct instructions to them when Jesus said, as the Father sent me. Do you get that? As the Father sent me, so I am sending you. And that's really remarkable when you think about why the Father sent Jesus, what the Father sent Jesus to do. Because as amazing as that statement was, as the Father sent me, so I send you, you ask the question, well, why did the Father send Jesus? And Jesus stated that in Luke chapter 4, which came from Isaiah. When he said, I have come. The Father sent me to do this, to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom for the prisoners, recovery of sight to the blind, release the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. That's why the Father sent me, and as the Father sent me, so I am sending you. So what are you sending us to do? Well, how about preach good news to the poor, proclaim freedom for the prisoners, recovery of sight to the blind, release the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord. Again, according to John, Jesus had said this other remarkable thing when they were gathered in the upper room for their last supper together. Jesus said, I tell you the truth. Anyone who has faith in me will do what I have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't stop there. He will even do greater things than these because I am going to my Father. Again, it's like, how do we wrap our mind and how do we wrap our heart around a statement like that? You've watched me do incredible, remarkable, miraculous things. I'm going to be with my Father, and now you are going to do remarkable, incredible, miraculous things. What a remarkable and an emboldening statement. Have you ever wondered how we can do greater things than Jesus? After all, what can be greater than healing, giving sight to the blind and healing the lame, healing the lepers? What can be greater than raising the dead to new life like Lazarus? How can we do things greater than what Jesus did? And have you ever thought that even the most profound physical healing that Jesus did was temporary? That even Lazarus' new chance at life might have only lasted 20 or so years? But if we are used by God to share our faith with someone who joins us in the faith, their forgiveness, their healing, their new life will last eternally. Not temporary, not a few years. It will last forever. The other thing that allows us to do greater things than Jesus is that his ministry on earth was so geographically limited. That area that they called Judea, that included Israel and Samaria, believe it or not, is just a little larger than the size of New Jersey. And at the time of Jesus had a population of 5 to 6 million. By comparison, the current population of Florida is around 20 million. Limited space, few people. And during his lifetime, Jesus ministered to only a small fraction of people in that small geographic area. But after he empowered and unleashed the church to do greater things, his body, his church, was literally covering the earth with his message of forgiveness and healing and love. Go into all the world and make disciples of all nations. I was reminded a number of years ago that we tend to think of the Great Commission geographically, go into all the world. But also included in that is the Great Commission should be thought of vocationally. Go into every vocation as a witness for Christ. To give you a little more perspective about the size of that area and the number of people to whom Jesus actually made contact. The population of Jerusalem at the time of Jesus was about 40,000 people. That's about the seating capacity of the average Major League Baseball stadium. But during the festivals, the Hebrew celebrations, the festivals, the population of Jerusalem swelled to about 250,000. But think about how many, or really how few, of those people actually heard Jesus speak. So there were a couple thousand here and a few thousand there. How many people do you think saw him do a miracle? They might have heard rumblings and rumors. How many of those people, that 250,000, even knew that he had been arrested and tortured and killed by their religious leaders in collaboration with the Romans? How many people were at Golgotha when he was hanging on the cross? How many people saw him after the resurrection? Paul said at one time there were like 500. But 500 out of 250,000? Do you get what I'm saying? Really small area, small group of people. But now he's saying greater things are going to be done through ordinary people scattered throughout the empire, enjoying safe travels over the Roman-built roads, going into all the world. Places where they wouldn't be known, wouldn't be comfortable, and in some cases wouldn't be safe. But the ministry of Jesus was no longer exclusively through the person of Jesus. It was going to be multiplied over and over times the number of followers he had that would go wherever they lived, wherever they went. Remember that 40,000 to 250,000 in Jerusalem? That's because Jews from all over the Roman Empire came to Jerusalem for the festivals, for the holidays, and then they would go back home. So go. Take the message with you. Touch those people, speak to those people, love those people when they're here, and then they will take the message with you. And so everywhere a believer is, he's saying, he is. But here's, I think, our problem. You can say, I know he said that to them. What does his commissioning and empowering of them have to do with me? What Jesus began with his life continued through his followers, and it's now up to us to continue. We are descendants of those followers of Jesus. We are in the lineage of those people of faith. And what God spoke to them through Jesus, he also speaks to us. The good news of Jesus is not exclusive to a small country in the first century. We are to be carriers of the virus of God's love and mercy and grace to the part of the world where we live and we work and we play. Who is going to bring hope to the hopeless in our world? Who is going to offer peace to the warring factions in our world? Who is going to bring healing to the broken in our world? Who is going to be love to those who hate in our world? May we lovingly live the good news as the followers of Jesus did in their culture, in their time. May we do in our culture and in our time, through the ways that you are gifted, to the people with whom you come in contact. Through love and service, through helping, acts of kindness, acts of compassion, acts of love, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.